I'm Kellen Marion, and welcome to STEM to Share. In today's episode, I'm speaking with a PhD student from the City University of New York.
My name is Sarah Jacobson. I am a PhD student right now, and I am a student at CUNY's Graduate Center, so that's City University of New York Graduate Center.
What inspired you to go into your career?
I've always been interested in animals, and so I think from a very young age, I thought I wanted to be a veterinarian, as most kids, I think, who are interested in animals first think about that as a career option. And as I got more sort of involved in school and learned more about what career opportunities are out there, I discovered that you could actually do research with animals and their behavior and cognition rather than just look at, animal medicine, basically.
What do you find most exciting about your job?
Well, definitely being out in the field is the most exciting part of it, because you never know what's going to happen necessarily. And there are always a lot of surprises and challenges, I think, that you have to overcome. And animals in general, I think, will surprise you by how they behave. And, oftentimes when we're testing how animals solve a problem, we think they're going to solve it in a certain way, and then they do something completely innovative and different than the way than what you would expect. And I think that's the most exciting thing to see.
What do you feel is special about elephants, and why did you choose to do this kind of conservation work?
That's related to what I was working towards with Think Elephants International, but I think that's also what I am currently working towards as well. I think elephants in particular are so interesting and special because I think they behave in some ways that remind us of ourselves, and as a social species, similar to humans that have a lot of social relationships with other individuals. They have developed some of these abilities to think that are similar to us. And so, yeah, and that's exciting to see in another animal. And that's why I think a lot of people gravitate towards being interested in elephants in general. And they also happen to be endangered. So there's, I think there's the commonality that makes people interested in them, but then also the fact that the species is, being greatly affected by humans. And so what can we do to help keep them, in the ecosystems that they live in, and what can maybe their behavior or how they think or how they behave, what can that tell us about conserving them in the wild? And so that's the goal of my project currently.
What do you feel is the biggest threat to elephants?
So it depends on which elephant species you're talking about. And actually, I specifically study Asian elephants. And so I think a lot of people have heard about poaching issues, which is killing elephants for their tusks. And that actually is more so a threat to African elephants, because in that species, both males and females have tusks. So there's just a lot more of it. However, in Asia, the biggest issue is basically human development. So the more humans there are and the more development of land for agriculture, there's less forest for the elephants. And so basically, their habitat is destroyed, and then they're also not able to, they just come into contact with humans more often. So they'll cross roads, maybe get hit by cars or trains. That's an issue. And then also they'll end up eating food that people are growing for themselves. So corn crops, sugarcane are all tasty snacks for the elephant. But when they go in and eat what is a snack to an elephant, it's destroying the entire field basically for a farmer. So that brings a lot of tension between elephants and people living there. And that's one of the main goals of our research, is to try to learn more about that risk that elephants take to go into human areas, and why they do it, and the variability in that. Yeah.
I see that you wrote an article about cognitive studies and how that relates to elephants. Can you tell me about it?
Yeah, related to sort of what I was saying about the conflict between humans and elephants. One thing that we're interested in looking at is how different individual elephants solve problems, and whether the way that they solve that problem can tell us something about whether they're likely to be the elephants that go into human areas. So, for example, if you give an elephant some new puzzle that they've never seen before, um, and they approach it really quickly and interact with it a lot and get food out of it somehow very quickly, then that could tell you that maybe that elephant is more likely to go to human areas, because there's a lot of novel stuff in human areas that they don't see in the wild. So they might be more attracted to that environment. And so I think if we learn more about how they are interacting with objects this way, and also like how they can solve these problems, because people try to put up barriers between their farms and the elephants a lot of times, but elephants, being intelligent animals, will often get over those barriers somehow. Like if there's a fence, they'll electric fence, they'll like put knock a tree into it or something like that. Yeah, so there are all sorts of really innovative ways that people have seen them do this in the wild, but they're just sort of stories, and we want to actually like look into the cognition aspect of it, and with more control, see if we can get at that same information.
How has global warming affected elephants?
I think that probably that has affected African elephants more so than Asian elephants, because they live in environments with more variable rainfall in Africa. And I know that the rainfall has been even more like variable with global warming. I don't think currently that it's affecting the Asian range as much, just because of they're in more tropical ecosystems there, and so there is generally enough rainfall. However, it could continue to affect those areas, and potentially with some of the sea level rise for some of the Asian elephant range, that could be affecting elephants. It isn't currently, but I could see it happening.
Is there any additional advice or interesting information that you'd like to add?
Generally just advice as far as like getting into animal behavior or research or conservation fields is not being too afraid to reach out to people with questions. So if you do, if you're Googling and you find a researcher you're really interested in, people are really busy, but I know a lot of people who are interested in responding to students who just have questions. And so I think it's worth writing that email and just taking the chance to see if someone will respond to you.
Thank you all for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and follow me on social media. Links are in the description below. Bye!